I've worked in accounts payable at Meridian Solutions for 3 years, and I've learned that some problems solve themselves if you're patient enough. Karen Pritchard hasn't learned that lesson. She's been our office manager for 8 months, and she's turned supply management into her personal fiefdom. It started small. A missing stapler here, some post-it notes there. But Karen has a gift for escalation. This morning she cornered me by the printer, her voice loud enough to turn heads. "I know it's you taking the supplies. Don't think I haven't noticed the pattern." I looked up from my print job, keeping my expression neutral. "What pattern?" She stepped closer, her perfume overwhelming. "Every Monday morning, inventory is off. Pens, notepads, tape dispensers. And every Monday, you're the first one in the building. You think I'm stupid?" I'm not the first one in the building. I'm usually here by 7:30, but the cleaning crew arrives at 6. The security logs would prove it, but I've learned that facts don't matter to people like Karen. She's decided I'm guilty, and now she's collecting evidence to fit her conclusion. "I don't take supplies home," I said simply. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "We'll see what HR says about that." Karen has been documenting everything in a red binder she carries like a weapon. She's filed complaints about my arrival time, my lunch breaks, even the number of bathroom trips I take. Our HR rep, Michelle, has stopped responding to her emails with anything beyond automated acknowledgments. The thing is, supplies really are disappearing. I've noticed it too. Not just small items now, but entire boxes of paper, multiple keyboards, even someone's ergonomic mouse. It's happening over weekends and after hours, which makes Karen's theory about me even more absurd. But she's convinced, and she's making it everyone's problem. At 2 p.m., she called an emergency team meeting. "I'm implementing a new supply checkout system. If you need a pen, you come to me. If you need paper, you come to me. I'll be logging every single item." My coworker James raised his hand. "What if you're not here?" Karen's smile got sharper. "Then you wait until I am." The room went silent. We're a 20-person accounting department. The idea of queuing up for basic supplies was absurd, but no one wanted to be the next target of Karen's red binder. After the meeting, I stayed late to finish a reconciliation report. The office empties out quickly after 5, and by 6:30, I was alone on our floor. At least, I thought I was alone. That's when I heard it. A dragging sound, like something heavy being pulled across carpet. It was coming from the supply closet at the end of the hall. I should mention something about myself. I come from a family that knows things. My grandmother could find lost objects by holding a pendulum over a map. My mother can tell when someone's lying by the color of their aura. I've always been able to sense things that aren't quite right, like a persistent itch in the back of my mind. The corporate world seemed like a good place to avoid all that. Turns out I was wrong. The itch was strong as I approached the supply closet. I opened the door slowly. At first, I thought I was seeing things. A figure, maybe 3 feet tall, was loading boxes of printer paper onto a small wooden cart. He wore clothes that looked hand-stitched from various fabrics, greens and browns that seemed to shift in the fluorescent light. His beard was long and white, tucked into a belt made of braided leather. On his head sat a small red cap. A gnome. An actual gnome. He froze when he saw me, one gnarled hand still gripping a box of medium binder clips. We stared at each other for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice like gravel grinding together. "You can see me." It wasn't a question. I nodded. He set down the box carefully. "That's inconvenient. You've been taking the supplies," I said. My voice was calmer than I felt. "Karen thinks it's me," he snorted. "Karen is a suspicious, small-minded woman who wouldn't recognize magic if it bit her on her ample posterior. You, however, He studied me with eyes that were far too old for his small frame. You have the sight. That changes things. I sat down on a box of copier paper, my mind racing. This explained the pattern. The missing items, the impossible quantities, the way things vanish without anyone seeing. But it raised even more questions. Why? I asked. Why here? Why our supplies? The gnome settled onto his cart, looking almost relieved to have someone to talk to. I've been living in the walls of this building for 47 years. Used to be a warehouse before it was offices. Plenty of space, plenty of forgotten corners. I need supplies for my work. What work? He gestured vaguely. Repairs. Maintenance. Things that keep this building standing. You humans build poorly and maintain worse. Without my intervention, this place would have collapsed years ago. The supplies are payment. I thought about the building's age, the way certain problems never seem to get worse, how the ancient boiler always worked despite the facility manager's constant complaints. You're keeping the building functional. He nodded. Among other things. I fix your computers too sometimes. You people are brutal with technology. I remembered my laptop mysteriously working after I had left it frozen overnight. The time the entire server went down, but was somehow operational by morning, with IT taking credit despite looking baffled. That was you. Some of it. I like puzzles. He fixed me with a sharp look. Now that you know, what are you going to do? Tell Karen about the gnome in the walls. She'd have me exterminated, probably burn sage, and call some charlatan priest. Then this building falls apart, and you all suffer. I thought about it. About Karen's increasingly unhinged accusations, her power trips, her red binder of grievances. About my own situation, stuck in a job I was good at but that offered no recognition, no advancement. About the fact that I'd been trying so hard to keep my abilities quiet that I'd let someone like Karen push me around. I have a proposition, I said. The gnome leaned forward, interested. I'm listening. You can keep taking what you need. I'll even leave things out for you to make it easier. In exchange, you help me with something. What kind of help? I pulled out my phone and showed him my backlog. 17 reconciliation reports, each requiring hours of tedious cross-referencing and data entry. I was drowning in work, and Karen kept adding more, claiming I wasn't being a team player if I couldn't handle the load. The gnome's eyes lit up. Numbers. I love numbers. They're honest, unlike people. Can you do this kind of work? He snatched my phone with surprising speed, scrolling through the spreadsheets. Child's play. I've been doing calculations since before your great-great-grandmother was born. I can have this done by morning. And there's something else, I said. Karen needs to face consequences for her behavior. She's making everyone miserable, and she's blaming me for your supply runs. We need to redirect her attention. The gnome's smile was unsettling, showing too many teeth. I can be very creative with redirections. What did you have in mind? We talked for 2 hours, working out the details. The gnome, who told me his name was Griswold, had been watching the office dynamics with the amused detachment of someone who had seen centuries of human foolishness. He knew exactly where Karen kept her red binder, which computer she used, where she'd hidden the security camera footage she'd been reviewing. Before we parted, Griswold gripped my hand with surprising strength. You're different from the others. Most humans with a sight try to control or banish my kind. You negotiated. That's rare wisdom. My grandmother taught me that everything has its place, I said. You belong here. Karen doesn't. The next morning, I arrived at work to find my desk immaculate. The 17 reconciliation reports were complete, perfectly formatted, with notes highlighting discrepancies I'd missed. A post-it note in tiny, precise handwriting read, You should review your expense accounts more carefully. Someone has been creative with their receipts. I looked at the flagged entries. Karen's corporate card. Purchases at office supply stores. Hundreds of dollars, all marked as departmental supplies. Except the supplies never made it to the department. She'd been buying things for herself and billing the company. That afternoon, Karen called another meeting. Her voice was shrill with triumph. I have proof now. Definitive proof of theft. She opened her laptop to show the security footage she compiled. Except the footage didn't show what she expected. It showed her, time-stamped at 9 p.m. on a Friday, leaving the building with boxes marked Meridian Property. Another clip showed her arriving on a Saturday, taking multiple reams of paper to her car. A third showed her at her desk, clearly visible, transferring files from a company drive to a personal USB stick. The clips were impossible. Karen hadn't been in the building during those times. I knew because I checked the actual security logs. But on her screen, the evidence was damning and irrefutable. Karen's face went white. This isn't. I didn't. Our director, Marcus, leaned forward. Karen, is that you in the footage? Yes, but I wasn't. I mean, I never. She was fumbling now, panicking. Someone edited this. They must have. This is a setup. Marcus pulled up her expense reports on his tablet. Can you explain these charges? $347 at Office Depot, marked as printer supplies, but we didn't receive any printer supplies that week. I watched Karen spiral, her carefully constructed authority crumbling. She couldn't explain the footage because it was supernatural, and she couldn't deny the expense reports because they were real. She'd been so focused on building her case against me that she'd left herself vulnerable. She turned to me, her eyes wild. You did this. Somehow, you did this. I met her gaze calmly. I'm just an accounts payable clerk, Karen. I don't have access to security systems or the technical skills to edit footage. Maybe you should check with IT. That night, after HR had escorted Karen from the building pending investigation, I stayed late again. Griswold emerged from the supply closet, dragging his cart. He looked pleased with himself. That went well. The footage was brilliant, I said. How did you make it so realistic? He tapped his nose. Old magic. Showing people what they fear is true. Karen feared being caught, so that's what she saw on her screen. Everyone else saw what they needed to see to believe it. The mind is easy to manipulate when guilt is present. And the expense reports? Those were real. I just helped them surface at the right moment. She really has been stealing, just not the way she thought. He loaded another box onto his cart. Your reports are on your desk. I found 12 more discrepancies in the expense accounts. You should be commended for your thoroughness. I laughed. The sound felt strange after the tension of the past weeks. We make a good team. That we do. Griswold paused. The new office manager will be announced next week. I've been listening to the executives. They're impressed with your attention to detail and your calm handling of Karen's accusations. Your name came up. I hadn't considered that possibility. I'm not sure I want management. He shrugged. Either way, we have an arrangement now. I keep the building running, you keep me supplied and protected. And if anyone else becomes a problem, his smile was sharp, we'll handle it together. Over the following weeks, my workload mysteriously became manageable. Reports I'd been dreading would be partially complete when I arrived, with notes in Griswold's tiny handwriting suggesting more efficient approaches. My computer never crashed. My files never corrupted. The printer on my floor never jammed, even when everyone else's did. Karen's investigation revealed systematic theft and falsification of records. She was terminated and escorted from the building with security. I saw her once more, in the parking lot, loading boxes into her car. She looked smaller somehow, diminished without her red binder and her authority. She saw me watching and called out, "I know you did something. I don't know how, but I know it was you." I could have denied it. Instead, I just smiled. "You should have been more careful about who you accused, Karen. Some of us have friends in unexpected places." She looked confused, then angry, then climbed into her car and drove away. I never saw her again. Griswold appeared beside me in the fading daylight, invisible to anyone who didn't have the sight. He watched her car disappear. "She'll tell people about this. About you. That you're somehow responsible. Let her," I said. "Who's going to believe her? The disgraced office manager who got caught stealing and fabricating evidence?" He chuckled, a sound like rocks tumbling. "You're learning. The best magic is the kind people explain away as coincidence or karma." A month later, I was promoted to office manager. Not because I wanted the position, but because I was the obvious choice after Karen's departure. The first thing I did was eliminate her checkout system for supplies. The second thing I did was set up a supply station near the break room, fully stocked, with a sign encouraging people to take what they needed. The third thing I did was leave a locked cabinet in the supply closet marked, "Building maintenance do not remove." Inside were premium supplies, specialty tools, and various items I've researched that gnomes traditionally valued. Griswold never mentioned it directly, but I catch glimpses of him sometimes, late at night, sorting through his new resources with the careful attention of a craftsman reviewing quality materials. My grandmother called one evening. She never asks about work directly, but she has ways of knowing when things change. Her voice was warm but knowing. "You've made an arrangement." "Yes," I said simply. There was a pause. "Be careful. The old ones remember grudges longer than humans remember kindness. But if you're fair with them, they're the most loyal allies you'll ever have. I'm learning that." She laughed softly. "Good. You were wasted in that job, trying to be invisible. Your gifts were meant for more than hiding. Sometimes the corporate world needs a little magic to keep it honest." She was right. I'd spent years suppressing what I was, trying to fit into a world that didn't acknowledge anything beyond spreadsheets and metrics. But there were others like me, I realized. People with a sight, with abilities, with knowledge of what existed in the spaces between the mundane world and the other. We were everywhere, in offices and factories and schools, keeping things balanced. And sometimes, when the balance tipped too far toward cruelty or injustice, we corrected it. One night, about 3 months after Karen's departure, I was working late on quarterly reports. Griswold emerged from the walls, carrying a small wooden box. He set it on my desk with ceremony. "A gift for partnership well maintained." Inside was a pendant, carved from some dark wood I didn't recognize. It was shaped like a key, with intricate knotwork along the shaft. When I touched it, I felt a pulse of energy, warm and grounding. "What is it?" I asked. Griswold's expression was serious. "Protection. There are others in this building, things that aren't as friendly as me. That pendant will mark you as under gnomish protection. They'll leave you alone." He paused. "And if you ever need help, urgent help, hold it and speak my name. I'll come." I slipped the pendant over my head, feeling it settle against my chest like it belonged there. "Thank you, Griswold." He nodded formally. "Thank you for seeing me. For negotiating instead of banishing. For understanding that we all have our place." His smile returned. "Now finish those reports. You made 3 errors on page 17. I looked at page 17. He was right, of course. I corrected the errors while he watched, occasionally offering commentary on human mathematical incompetence that was both insulting and helpful. This became our routine. I'd work late several nights a week, and Griswold would emerge to help with complex problems, to fix my computer, to share observations about the office dynamics that only someone living in the walls could know. He told me about the executive who was planning to quit, the merger that was being discussed in secret, the IT manager who was running a side business from company equipment. I learned to listen without judgment, to use information carefully, to intervene only when necessary. With Griswold's help, I became known as someone with an uncanny ability to anticipate problems, to find solutions others missed, to maintain harmony in a chaotic environment. My promotion to department manager came 6 months after Karen left. By then, everyone had forgotten about her accusations, her red binder, her rigid supply controls. They remembered only that things ran more smoothly now, that problems solved themselves, that our department somehow avoided the technical issues and interpersonal conflicts that plagued other teams. On my first day with my own office, I found a small carved figure on my desk. A gnome, no more than 3 inches tall, holding a tiny ledger. The detail was extraordinary, down to the individual hairs in the beard, the stitching on the clothes. It was clearly Griswold's work. That night, he appeared in my doorway, visible only because I'd learned to look for the slight shimmer that marked his presence. His voice was gruff, but I detected pride. "You've done well. The building approves of your management. Things are better organized now. Couldn't have done it without my partner," I said. He nodded. "We make a good team, as you said. I handle the invisible maintenance, you handle the humans. Everyone benefits." He paused at the door. "Your predecessor, the one before Karen, she had the site too. But she tried to command me, to bind me to her service. That never ends well. What happened to her?" His smile was dark. "She transferred suddenly to our Denver office. Something about the local environment not agreeing with her. Gnomes hold grudges, as your grandmother warned you. But we also recognize genuine partnership when we find it." He vanished into the walls, leaving me alone in my new office with its view of the parking lot and its carved gnome guardian. I've been department manager for 2 years now. Our division has the lowest turnover, the highest efficiency ratings, and a reputation for solving impossible problems. People ask me my secret, and I tell them it's about building good relationships and paying attention to details. They don't need to know about Griswold working through the night on complex reconciliations. They don't need to know about the protective wards he's placed around our floor, keeping away the less friendly entities that inhabit old buildings. They don't need to know that sometimes, when someone becomes a problem, I have options beyond HR complaints and performance reviews. Karen's story became office legend, a cautionary tale about power-tripping managers who get caught by their own schemes. No one ever questioned the security footage or wondered how someone as careful as Karen could have been so sloppy. They saw what they expected to see, a tyrant brought down by her own corruption. Only I knew the truth. Only I knew about the gnome in the walls, the old magic living alongside our modern technology, the deal that protected us both. Last week, a new hire started in accounting. Young, ambitious, with eyes that lingered too long on other people's desks, their supplies, their successes. I recognized the type. The kind who climbs by stepping on others, who takes credit and shifts blame. During her orientation, she cornered me in the hallway. "I've heard stories about you. About how you got rid of the last office manager. People say you're someone who gets things done." Her tone was calculating, testing, looking for an ally or identifying a threat. I smiled politely. "Karen got herself fired through her own actions. I just did my job." She leaned closer, her voice dropping. "Sure, but between you and me, I know how to play the game too. Maybe we can help each other out. I've got dirt on half the people in this department already." The pendant under my shirt grew warm. A warning. I studied the new hire more carefully, and saw what I'd missed before. Her shadow fell wrong, flickering at the edges. Her perfume had an undertone of sulfur. Her teeth were just slightly too sharp when she smiled. Not human. Or not entirely human. I kept my voice level. I don't play games. I do my job well, I help my team succeed, and I make sure everyone follows the rules. If you can do the same, we'll get along fine. Her smile widened, showing more of those sharp teeth. Rules. Right. We'll see how long that lasts. She walked away, and I felt Griswold's presence beside me, invisible but solid. His voice was grim. That one's trouble. She's marked. Something's using her. I noticed. He was quiet for a moment. What are you going to do? I thought about it, about patterns and consequences, about how the best magic is the kind that looks like natural karma, about how I had learned, over 2 years of partnership, that patience and observation beat confrontation every time. Watch, I said. Document. Wait for her to make a mistake. And when she does? Griswold's chuckle was dark with anticipation. We'll be ready. I smiled. We will. The new hire walked back to her desk, confident and careless. She had no idea what she'd just walked into. No idea about the gnome in the walls, the manager with the site, the old magic that protected this building and everyone who worked honestly within it. She'd learn eventually. They always did. I returned to my office, where the carved gnome sat on my desk, its tiny ledger open, forever recording. Outside my window, the sun set over the parking lot, painting everything in shades of amber and shadow. Another day done, another problem identified, another challenge to face. But I wasn't worried. I had Griswold. I had my grandmother's teachings. I had the sight and the knowledge of how to use it. And I had something Karen never had, the wisdom to know that real power comes not from control, but from partnership. From knowing who your real allies are. From understanding that sometimes the most important relationships in your workplace are with the people or entities that no one else can see.